We got the RSO with the resolution we have. It's open for discussion for committee and stuff.
Did the superintendent ever get back to us about willing to pay more?
Nope.
No.
We didn't ask them for more either. So.
Well, they made the statement at the meeting that they were gonna come back to us, and they didn't.
Anybody else? Sheriff,
What's that?
you got any questions or discussions for the RSOs?
No, unless you guys do. But where's it stand? I haven't heard where it stands yet, so.
Yeah, as far as we're gonna put them back on with, the rest of the time they need to be in, recreation.
Say it again, Jerry, I couldn't hear you, sorry.
I said we're gonna put them back on, that's the discussion. We got a resolution for that. But when they're not working for the school, they're gonna be doing recreation.
Right, they always do, right.
Well, no, they don't, they've been doing everything else, so.
No, they have been, I think if the county manager will just show you the adjusted hours that they showed for that, it does.
Okay,
We
but
were looking
the,
at the year before, the year there with COVID in play, and I think that the public needs to know that both of those SRO officers both had COVID and were in isolation. So that's why I'll tell you just like that, because obviously HIPAA doesn't matter in Lewis County too much. But
Well-
now it does, and I'm gonna explain that's where they were. So, yeah, they were doing what they were supposed to do, but they were also in quarantine isolation as well, because both of them had picked that up, so.
so with them, with the resolution saying they're the work, the recreation, you're happy with that?
Yeah, we can work, sure, yep.
Is there any other discussion?
Jerry, the thing that we discussed about if they're needed on an emergency basis, did that make it in? I didn't get a chance to review
No,
it again.
we left it for here, I figured, because I had a hard time, relaying what you were saying, and
And I didn't
so
get it, I said I was gonna
if
reach
you
out, and I
will-
didn't do that, so,
bring it up for discussion
Yeah.
here, and then we'll go from there, whether we want to put it in or not.
sure. I'll bring it up when we get to that resolution, so. Or do you wanna do it now?
Well, we're at the discussion for
Okay.
that.
What I had suggested was just because there's always the potential that you might need to pull somebody off of recreation patrol, and I'm thinking for an emergency situation, that notice could be given to the county manager and to the chairman of the board. We're taking them off recreation patrol, this is why. They don't need to wait for permission, but they can just do it, but then we've got a record of why it was done at that particular moment, so there's no questions later on. That was kind of the idea I had, so.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Ryan, I didn't discuss it with you before, but,
Well,
that
it was
makes
late
sense.
when you and I had talked.
yeah.
Sheriff, does that seem realistic?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Does it sound reasonable, is that what you said?
Realistic, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, sure, you want to notify, we can notify, no problem with that. Yep.
My only question would be, and how do we define emergency? What is it? What's an emergency that would qualify?
So what typically pulls the SROs off of rec patrol?
Yeah, it could be manpower for the road patrol. It could be an investigation that is going to take more manpower than what we have on the scene at the time, things like that. Somebody's out sick, somebody gets hurt, somebody retires, or somebody quits, things like that.
And another discussion we had was emergency is something where there's a clear and present danger to the public in the judgment of the sheriff or whoever, makes that decision. I don't think backfilling, I think if there's somebody who's sick or on vacation, that would need to be pulled from the rest of the road patrol.
Yeah, if we had it, Ian, we would do that. If we had that, we'd do that definitely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I got a question for the chair. Nothing's in here mentioned about Copenhagen.
They're separate issues.
So you're not bringing, it's not gonna be brought up,
It's not mixed in this one, we're gonna discuss that one too.
it's
That's,
not even in here listed.
well, we're just gonna still discuss it in committee there, and then go from there, so. we were gonna take this issue first and then move to the next one.
So just to explain what you guys have in front of you here, which is new today, so, you know, I try to get you things ahead of time, but we had a lot of data to sort through. Previously, I had provided analysis on SRO Rec Patrol for 2020. As the sheriff mentioned, that year, you could put in the category of a bit of an anomaly. If you go back and look at 2019 and 2018, the percentage of time the school resource officers were spent on recreation, our time spent on recreation was 66% and 68%. So certainly better than the 14% from 2020. So we wanted to make sure that data was present for you guys. I know that, you know, having talked with Jerry and some others, that, you know, the expectation is much closer to 100%, but it's fair to say that, you know, the 14% from 2020 is more of an outlier compared to the other 2 years. So I wanted to make sure that data was available to everybody to review.
Yeah, but it's still my goal that to justify putting those people on us paying it is put them on recreation where we can use them because of safety and everything else. So, they still got hours they can work.
Sure, I didn't hear you, sorry, what was that?
Sorry, excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. What we got is extra hours that I would like them on the recreation patrol that they haven't worked. And that's part of our discussion. You know, you have worked more hours than when we first saw it and stuff like that, but there's still hours that we can put in. And one of the things is and I think you realize as we go on, you know, we're trying to build a trail system, and not that you're not doing it, but the more presence we can put out there, the thing is, it, I think, has a tendency to keep people safer, not necessarily writing tickets, but seeing people. Make them think of what's going on, so if they happen to be here today, there tomorrow, whatever, it always keeps people on their toes. I'm not saying you don't write tickets.
Right.
But on the same aspect, with us trying to build a trail system, I really think it's important, because you kind of hear a little bit from the landowners. They don't feel that we're giving them, you know, kind of a checks and balance for their properties and stuff. So, you know, the more we can put in there, the easier it's going to be for us to build a trail system that's safe for everyone. So that's our goal, and that's the reason. And, you know, putting the RSOs on, I don't think anybody here, I'm speaking for me, but I don't think anybody else either, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, has a problem with that. It's just that when we put that extra cost in, the thing was, it was to us, it was the right, or me, to put them in recreation and get a little bit more out of them and help, because we got to make recreation safe for it to grow.
Right, I agree with you. And just to clarify, is that, Joan, how much does the schools reimburse you for each SRO?
55%.
55%. And what is that? How much is that? Just tell us.
On average, I think it was for 2020, the total cost for the SROs was approximately between $112,000 and $120,000.
And then how much does the school reimburse you monetarily? What do they reimburse you?
Well, actually, South Lewis was 58 because they were under a grant for each year, and Harrisville paid, I think, 60.
The exact figures for 2020, the total cost of 2 school resource officers is $327,587.
That includes benefits, correct?
Yeah.
So the retirement and everything else.
Everything, total cost to the taxpayer.
So just to break down for the taxpayers again, could you just state what the salary is, the salary, and what the school reimburses to you as a county? I'd appreciate that.
Okay, salary is for one deputy is $60,032. Salary for the other sergeant is $64,504. If you add contractual items,
No, not contractual. Then so now.
well, hold on. Why not add those? That's our cost.
Yeah, you can add them in a second. No, that's no problem.
Okay.
Now with those numbers, would you just state what the school now reimburses you towards that 60,000? That's what.
Well,
But
hold
that's
on,
not how the
hold on
contract
just a
is.
second, because to say that the taxpayers are only funding the salary portion is very misleading.
I'm not
The
misleading, I didn't say that.
taxpayers are actually
Right.
funding the retirement and the health benefits and everything else.
Correct.
So that is a true taxpayer cost.
Correct, Larry, the reason why I'm asking, I want to hear the monetary number for the salary, that's all. I'm gonna get into that next in a minute, but you didn't let me get there yet. You interrupted before you finished, that's what we're trying to get to, but I appreciate what you're saying, because that is true of the benefits. So what is the cost, the monetary of the salary that the school reimburses again back to the deputy?
The school total reimbursed is $58,673.
Okay.
That was South Louis.
That's South Louis. For Harrisville, it's $60,680.
Gotcha. And then after that, when you do add in, as you say, the retirement, the health benefit, and then it brings it up to what then, sir?
The total cost of the deputy at South Louis is $108,883. The total cost for the sergeant at Harrisville is $109,820.
Thank you, appreciate it, thank you.
So total, and you guys got this exact worksheet last month. Total cost of school resource officers, $327,587. Total paid by schools, $179,853. Total cost to county, $147,734.
Thank you.
Which is, as Joan said, 55-45.
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
With these officers working in recreation, how many hours a week do you expect they will be working when they're not at school?
What we've got is,
They basically would work 80 hours every 2 weeks.
That's
2
between
weeks,
40
yeah.
hours a week.
and roughly, they got 11 weeks
Okay,
that they're
thanks.
not in the school and stuff like that.
Thank you.
So, and they do have some time off during winter breaks and stuff like that. And, you know, if I would, that'd be part of, they'd be on recreation patrol then, solar bills and stuff. So.
So a lot of the total hours of it, the standard base hour would be 22,080 hours. Out of that amount of time, we would have available to us for rec patrol 440 hours, or 11 hours, or 11 weeks as Joan said.
Yeah, and so what we did is turn that theoretical math into real math and apply it based on what was actually worked and actual paid time off in 18, 19, and 20. So you're right, it comes out to close to, I mean, almost 440, but it fluctuates based on sick time, vacation time, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Committee? Okay, what do we want to do with the ends proposal there? Do we want to put something in, or, and I guess the question is what are we going to narrow it down to that constitute true emergency?
So the way I would phrase it is just add in a new section that says that recreation patrol officers or officers on recreation patrol may be redeployed to respond to an emergency where there is a clear and present danger to the public upon notice to the county manager and the chairman of the board. That's how I would phrase it.
Okay. Ron, what are your thoughts?
I'm good with that.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Dick?
Eventually, we're gonna have to define emergency a little bit with some examples, but yeah, I could be agreeable with that.
Well, couldn't that be,
That's what Ian's definition is.
and couldn't it be when he has to call emergency on me is when you're not operating ordinary, you have to carry extra personnel out to solve the situation.
And I would extend it so the way I view it is where not deploying them would, in the judgment of the sheriff, lead to imminent harm to persons or property, something along those lines. That's how I would consider it.
It should be sheriff and undersheriff too, probably, because sometimes both of you are making decisions.
Right, whoever's well, I'd say
Ian, with all due
whoever's,
respect, as you can say that, but it still comes down to my decision, under my authority.
Right.
And that can't be taken away, just so you're aware of that.
sure, but,
Okay.
and I'd say just understand that one of the sections that we have in here, it says, let's see here. The agreement shall provide for the county to have the right to terminate the agreement at any time in the event the county determines that the SRO deputy is not performing county recreation enforcement services for the estimated hours of availability. So my language that I'm putting in there, it creates a possibility that they can be used, and if the hours work out at the end of the year, we can look back and say, well, we had an emergency, we needed to pull them off for 5 hours because, heaven forbid there's an active shooter situation, something like that, or people need to be evacuated because of an industrial accident. I'm thinking those types of situations. So we leave that option open, but with the understanding that if the intent is not respected, we would have the right to then terminate the position in the future if we need to.
For the SRO position.
Correct.
Well, if that's what you want, that's fine, but remember that, you're not hurting me, you're not hurting the children, the parents, and the taxpayers of that school district. See, because that SRO is still a deputy, and will still come back to the road patrol.
Sure, and that's where, this is why we need to work together to make sure that we're achieving the purpose of this
And
legislation.
that's what I do every day for the county, I still try to work for you guys, you know that.
Great, okay.
Yep, public's very aware of that, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions or discussions? Anybody else? Okay, then we need to discuss what we're gonna do, if anything, with the RSO for the other school district, Copenhagen.
Larry, pardon, did anybody bring up the fact too that we have, that the county is reimbursed through the state with the, through the boat patrol and through is that mentioned?
Yeah.
The money goes towards that?
Yeah,
Okay, all right, thank you. Just wanted to make
it's,
sure.
correct me if I'm wrong, if you get the hours in, it's like 50% or something
Right,
like that.
right. Okay, thank you.
But I don't think that was put into your figures, was it, Ryan? As their salary was being covered partially by the state funding of the boat patrol and anything
Well,
else?
would it be, well, you think we've got other, besides the RSOs, we got other recreation people,
Who?
huh?
Who?
Part-timers. Right, Sheriff?
Say it again?
Besides the RSOs doing recreation, we also have 3 or 4 part-time people doing recreation too. I mean, that's
Yeah, we had 3, we are now down to 2.
2, okay.
Yep.
So essentially that draws off that too.
Yeah, but it was still not figured in his salary.
Who's?
Ryan's, his salary figures.
Well, it would be hard to,
We're not even talking about the other part-timers. It doesn't make any difference as long as we do 50%. So we haven't even looked at the time for the part-timers.
Oh, I agree, but still, some of that 50% that we're getting reimbursed, dollar-wise, can go to paying for this SRO position.
If
But that's
you're
not
on
included.
boat patrol, if you're not
That's what
on,
I'm saying,
but
Okay,
Greg, think about this too. Out of the 2,080 hours that they have as a base hours, we're only getting 440 hours of that. So we're getting 25% of their hours, but we're paying 55% of the salary.
I
So we're
understand that.
already at a deficit.
I
And
understand
a
that,
little bit that
but
we get back from the state for
Marine.
marine patrol, and, the county also kicks in more money for ATV patrol. They're
you
small.
you still have to put all those dollars together. Otherwise, you're not really completing the picture.
well, it would be difficult to match dollar for dollar what comes in from the state to an hour worked by a specific employee. That
Well,
would be,
you've got the hour right here.
yeah, I know.
It's 26 and a half hours on Marine by the one deputy from South Louis. And then you have 68 and a half hours by the one in Harrisville. So you must be able to, anybody else should be able to take how much money that's bringing back to the county.
Yeah, if it's submitted, which, you know, these grants are, the sheriff knows, they take a long time for the submittals to come back in, and also,
It's just blowing off. Whatever. You don't wanna pay attention to all the dollars that are being generated by that position.
we have pushed in the budget. Nobody has done more to push for that revenue line than me. That revenue line has been pushed up every year in that budget. We assume the state maximum for snowmobile patrol and boat patrol. So we are assuming the maximum. All I'm saying is, it's not included in this analysis because it would be very difficult to know which hour of which employee is being reimbursed by the state. There's caps. And there's no reimbursement for ATV patrol, which is mostly what the legislature is interested in accomplishing here.
That goes to the general fund, correct?
Yes.
Do what?
Yeah. There you go.
Eric, do you have the amounts, just for the heck of it, in one of the years, either 18, 19, or 20?
I
That much.
don't. I'm just trying to see if I can log in at the moment and I can try and give them to you.
Yeah, I think when Patty was here, it wasn't all that much money, if I remember correctly.
The maximum you can get for snowmobile patrol in a year, I think, is 28,500.
Right.
And we do our best to try to get that, and it depends on the snow. I mean, I think in the years I've been here, we only hit the max once. Other years we've been as low as like 13,000, 14. Do you know, Jackie, the
The
max?
problem is too, you can submit for the full amount allowed, but if everybody in the state is submitting for the maximum amount allowed, they only have a set pool of money. So then it's prorated and you only get a percentage.
Mhm.
So I think that's been some of the issue with why we're not getting the full amount.
Yeah. And that's just for snowmobile and marine. There is no, we don't have anything set up for
Marine
ATV.
is unlimited, but snowmobile has a
Yeah.
cap. Correct?
Just for Marine, we collected, just brief synopsis, 9,500 in 2019 and 5,600 in 2020.
That's what I was.
I didn't think it was that much, yeah.
Trying to get back to.
And regardless of how you approach it, I mean, we're putting money in beside that, so what's the difference where it goes, and still.
And you can submit more than just hours to that. I mean, we submit boat ropes, snowmobile gloves. I mean, you can submit all kinds of things to that program.
The boat itself.
I think so.
Yeah. We were talking Coach.
Well, yeah, we digressed there for a second, so we're back on Copenhagen.
What do we have from Copenhagen as a request? Anything yet? Formally?
Yes, Copenhagen has formally requested a school resource officer. They've contacted me, they've contacted the sheriff. They would like that position to start in September.
With about the same terms as Harrisville and South Louis?
Yes, they're willing to pay the same terms, yeah. Well, let me say it this way. Same terms as Harrisville. South Louis is a bit different because they have had a grant. So, same terms as Harrisville.
If Copenhagen wants someone, do you have someone for Copenhagen?
We do, ma'am.
Did we ever, discussion about a different title?
We never moved forward with that, but we have options if we need to. It would be something we would have to talk with the union about adding.
What was the question?
A different title?
School, we've
School.
had discussion about school safety officer, which can be the same thing, except it would be a retired policeman or
No, sorry.
law enforcement.
The
Big,
sheriff's employee of the sheriff's department, but a different title.
Yeah, we have that. We have a school safety officer job description.
I've also done reach out for like a special patrol officer. In other counties, they call them that. So I do have reach out, and I've spoken with other counties that do it, but it's just not commonly done because It's just more often done in the schools alone for the same price.
He's still a deputy. That title you can't change in civil service. He came on as a deputy. He continues to stay a deputy. Actual deputy.
Well, if we want to create a new position with that title, we could though.
But he'd still be a deputy.
Well, if he was one, you're assuming it's the same person. If we create a new position, it could be any person. You get what I'm saying?
But not, then it wouldn't come from our agency then.
It could. You could have a school safety officer that reports through the sheriff, is just not a road patrol deputy. Has a different, kind of like your, so like your civil.
Academy?
Yeah, think of your
he's
civil.
a deputy then, because the New York State Civil Service law, he has to attend the New York State Police Academy for that, for the state of New York.
Right, but they can be retired.
They can be what?
If we, like a lot of other counties use retirees.
Well, that's what you're confusing the public right now, you see? So let's just clarify that. If you take a road deputy from the sheriff's office, that's not a retired person.
No, that's
Right,
correct.
there, right, exactly.
But if you are
take
taking a
retired
retiree-
person who's now retired, like let's say, so somebody retires from the sheriff's office, then you want to bring them back.
Just as we do with like our
Correct,
Parks
that's
and
correct,
Rec.
but they'd be retired then you could change them.
Right, exactly.
That's right, but that wasn't said though, I just want to make sure that's clarified, that's all.
That's what the intention would be.
The what would?
That would be what the intention is.
Oh, so you don't want a road deputy, you want a retired deputy.
If we were to change the title. It
Okay,
would
well then you wouldn't, then technically then, if he's already retired, he's no longer under my auspices then, so if he's retired, you wouldn't come to me, you'd have to actually go to that retiree.
Well, you have other titles in your department, like your civil deputy, like your part-time recreation. I mean, there's other public safety titles that can be used.
And they are still deputies.
No.
Yes.
Well,
See, Mike Levicker is still a deputy.
Yeah, I
He's
get.
retired, but he's still a deputy.
Right, I'm saying, it would be something different than we haven't done here before. You can add a position under the sheriff's department that is a licensed peace officer, and just tell them, here's the deal. You're not getting your job is different, your description is different. You're not a road patrol deputy, you're a school safety officer, and you're gonna make $34,000 a year, whatever it may be. That's typically you wanna be under the 35,000, so you can attract.
It wouldn't fall under me then.
They'd be a member of the sheriff's office. They'd be on payroll in the sheriff's office.
Not if he's retired. If he's retired, no longer works for me, I don't bring him back. You guys are the ones saying you want to bring him back. I'm not bringing a retired person back. No, I'm not doing that. The school is asking for him.
Well, we haven't really gone into depth in this conversation, but the way I understand it is it could go either way. It could be a person hired by the sheriff's department, hired by the county, working out of the sheriff's office, or it could be a school safety officer that is a retired policeman, but he's contracting with the school and he's working the school hours, the school year as a part-time person, and if that's the way it's set up, he would not be a county employee, he would be a school employee.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct, yeah. But he's not retired. In other words, he's not retired working for the sheriff's office anymore.
Correct.
Right.
Any others?
Did we ever, my understanding was when we first started school resource officers, that if that went away, what happened to the position in the person? Did we solve that question?
Well, we backfilled each time we've added a school resource officer, we backfilled to make sure that road patrol stays whole.
Right.
Right.
So it would be 2 extra. And they would have the right to go back to where they were because they're more likely senior. And then the 2 would be higher than the youngest 2 would be.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Any other questions? I guess one of the, whichever way we go, look at the price difference, I guess, one of them. And then I guess my concern is if we do the same thing we're doing now, paying the kind of money that we pay, we have a position like Do we need more than recreation? I'm not sure we do. So that
Well,
kind
this
of creates
person
some.
would only work part-time
If they were retired.
during the school hour, or
Yeah.
school year.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't be another recreation officer in the summertime. It would just be a person that works the
That
school
would-
year
that
in the
would-
school setting.
That would probably be the way to go to do it. And then we don't have the additional cost.
Right.
But he wouldn't be a sheriff's deputy.
Which is what the schools wanted.
Right.
Right.
And if you've got, let's get to the real point. If you've got a sheriff's deputy at Harrisville and we've got one at South Louis, how can you tell Copenhagen no? Really? What, they don't deserve the same same thing as the other school districts get?
Would there be use for a third SRO, Sheriff? Would there be use for a third SRO for rec during the summer, or do you think that you have?
Well, I just told you that you asked me how many people we have part-time. We had 3, we just lost a person, literally. We only have 2 part-time Parks and Rec people. That's it. Besides your regular road patrol for Lewis County. That means that person's now working overtime when not being deputies on the road patrol.
Well, the person you just lost was a retired police officer that came back and was working part-time, correct?
That's correct.
So he was not a full-time road deputy,
Yes, he could be if he wanted to,
but he was not.
but he was not. The difference is, Larry, is that he had the abilities to make a lawful arrest and to enforce New York State penal law.
Okay.
Security guard doesn't have that. Along with many other things they can't do.
Have there been any arrests in the school settings by the SRO officers?
That is something that I can talk about afterward because you're dealing with juveniles. So, yes, we can talk about that off camera.
Okay, one more time, go on. Executive session.
I say to Greg's point, I get where he's coming from. Just the idea we only do it for 2 schools, we don't do it for a third, but then we'd be looking at a 4th and a 5th school. I talked to my board at Beaver River, and none of the kids in my district get any benefit from the SROs other than the recreation patrol. The school board there said they're not really interested in it,
So low.
but they're not very keen on funding positions that don't benefit them. So adding another. They're not clamoring for this. They don't want an SRO,
So they don't get one.
right? But they're not,
Their
I'm just
choice.
saying as taxpayers, they're not too keen on the idea of supporting SROs in other schools. You know, we kind of,
Well, that's their choice though, that they've made. And I heard your superintendent, and his poll was of people at the board, people that are on the school board, and the few that were, there was like 15 people total. That was his poll.
right.
But
Well,
if you
they're
listen
saying
to
that as
Doug
taxpayers, not as
If you listen
policy
to Doug
makers.
Primo, he wouldn't ever want to lose that position.
Right.
And neither would the superintendent from Harrisville. They say, it's not just that they don't go just stand out in the hallway. They go and actually, go into classrooms and discuss issues and,
No, I think it's
with
I
all
like the
things
idea.
going on
Yeah.
in this world right now, but if Beaver River chooses not to have it, that's your taxpayers that appointed that board over there.
Right, but.
Because they're making a decision, not
Right,
the
yeah.
taxpayers.
But the thing is, those taxpayers who live in the Beaver River District are paying a portion of the cost to have an SRO in the other schools.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. I'm just saying that's a tough sell.
But they could get the same benefit if they chose to. But your taxpayers in that district didn't even know. Your school board made that decision, not the taxpayers.
Well, they're elected too.
Well, they're elected, but did they go out and ask their constituents? It didn't sound like it, not from what the superintendent said. They did a straw poll at a board meeting, 15 people.
I think
Really?
they sent an email out to all the parents, but the thing is they don't get any response on them.
I just look at it as if you don't say something that you don't, then it's really their problem. Lay it back on the school board. They're the ones that really make the decision. You know, same with, you know, Copenhagen wants it because they've seen what it's done for the other schools. And
I think-
Louisville says they don't need it because they've got the local sheriff or local peace officer going in there, which they do is walk through and that's about it.
I think if the schools want them, they should have them.
Yeah.
But I do think that the discussion about how much they pay should be addressed because it is expensive
Expensive,
for the
yeah.
county. But I think that if Copenhagen wants one, I would be in support of that, but like I said,
I think the
They're
standard,
expensive.
I think what you're saying is the standard should be the same in all the schools, and I agree with that, if that's what you're saying. In other words, there'd be a deputy
oh,
to be able to perform
Yeah, I
all
don't-
the duties.
yeah, I think that's getting into the details of it, which we're kind of having a hard time.
Could the safety officer be uniformed? I mean, what can, they
Could
can't
be
make
returned.
arrests. Is there anything really they can't do other than making arrests?
We can alter and update job descriptions. What we've had is very similar, but we have a couple other details from other counties that use a special patrol officer that is uniformed through their union.
Through their sheriff's department?
Through their sheriff's department. We have an
Caitlin, he's a
example.
special officer wearing a deputy's uniform, you're saying? Actual, it says deputy or police
I can't
representative?
tell
No.
you what it says on their uniform, but I
Right.
can tell you that
It's
that's
security,
that's this. They have it through their road patrol union,
to the union.
so it's
this is-
through their sheriff's
Yeah, so
department.
explain what Caitlin's talking about, the road patrol union is
Through their sheriff's department.
through the road patrol union, you just said, correct?
It's negotiated, but through the sheriff's department. Yes,
Right,
and
so
this
who
is
gets-
only one county that I'm referencing. There's multiple other counties
Yeah.
for sure.
Right. Yep.
And they
That's
all
one-
have
that's one, right?
different situations. So what it's allowing us to do is create whatever situation we want to support here. It's just showing us options that we can do because so many other counties make it work for the school districts and needs of those school districts they have. So it's giving us the platform to do that with whatever our school districts need here.
Right.
And being able to work on
Then you
that.
said again that that is a security officer, correct, through the sheriff's office?
It's a special patrol officer. It's
And-
a retired deputy.
There, you say that, correct, it's a retired deputy,
So they
correct.
call it a
Yep.
special patrol officer. It's a retired deputy.
Yes.
Yes.
And Ken, does he do the same duties as the SRO, an actual SRO does?
That's my
You
understanding.
understand?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Well,
Does he?
our understanding of what our duties are done here too is very different.
Yes, it
We're
is.
not
That's
in there
correct.
watching what they're doing here.
That's correct. What the county taxpayers get here is a far higher level than what you're speaking of. And Mr. Primo?
We don't.
Yep, and Mr.
we
Primo
don't have
and the Harrisville superintendent would tell you the same thing, is what they have here. And they're certified through the state of New York under the SRO program too. That's the difference. But I think what comes down to, from the board, what I understand from the legislators trying to do is, you're trying to see the taxpayers the cost of paying the benefits to those deputies. Am I hitting it kind of closely there? That you feel there's a cost for, Joan, correct? There's a cost for the benefits for the deputies? Is that what's kind of, is on
There's
the?
a cost, there's a cost.
There's a
Forget
cost.
about whether it's the benefits or the actual salary.
Right,
It's about $110,000 a year, as you know,
right,
to put a deputy onto the tax rolls of the county.
right. I think that's a pretty minimum price to pay for the lives of our children, and the school teachers in those buildings deserve the security and protection in today's day and era, what we see across the country. That, knock on wood, I haven't had Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, and ABC come here yet to this county. I hope we never do. So I think it's a pretty minimal cost for the safety and security of our children and of our neighbors that are school teachers and people in the schools. For that cost, I think that's pretty minimal. Just saying.
Well, I would agree with you, but I guess the question in my mind is the higher cost of a road deputy versus a retired deputy worth it? And are the two positions, is it worth that extra cost to accomplish the same thing by someone that can do it at a lesser cost? You know, a retired deputy that only wants to work 6 months a year or whatever it works out to be will be half of the cost of putting on someone full-time, full year-round when school is not in session.
Right. Then,
So-
and I agree with Larry on that part, but then when you come back and ask me to cover the Parks and Recs part of our county, I don't have the extra amendment. I don't have that.
Well, in that case, maybe we should, review putting the 2 SRO officers, in this resolution and start over.
In regards to you say put the 2 SROs in there starter, what do you mean by that?
I mean, if you don't have the manpower to do the recreational patrol, then why are we talking about reinstating them?
What you just said, if you were to take
If
away
you
those,
can't meet,
if you were to take away those 2 SROs, then I wouldn't be able to, that's what I'm saying to you.
okay.
Yeah.
I was listening to HR and stuff like that. I don't know how everybody else feels. I would like to get a good look at our options.
Me too.
The way we're headed right now, I don't think we're gonna be able to make a decision to meet it today.
Right, yeah. I'd like to see if we can be flexible with what we pay them, the hours they work, what kind of duties they can perform, what they can wear. Because I think we can, there might be a way we can achieve what we want to do and what the sheriff's talking about
It helps
with the
everybody.
schools, but not, at the cost that we're talking about for the other, like what we did for the other SROs. And I'll say, maybe Lisa can correct me, I might be the only one who actually has kids in school, and we'll have 3, in this fall. They're at a school without an SRO. When we drop them off, we're not concerned about their safety. And, it's always, your kid's safety is always in the back of your head. But I do think about what kind of financial burdens are we putting on the community that they're going to have to think 10, 20 years from now. Are we creating the kind of incentives that my kids would actually be able to live in a community like this, or the tax is going to be too high? So, there's balancing interests at stake here.
Well, I would just like to say, again, as a bus driver of 34 years, with 72 kids behind me, I didn't have a school resource officer. That was me. I was the nurse, I was the counselor, I was the driver. Let's get back down to reality here. What is fair? You're worried about your kids in school where they got a small amount of students in each classroom. But you don't think about that bus driver up there with 72 kids behind them. And Mike Liverker, do you still drive occasionally?
Yeah, I do.
Am I saying anything wrong?
No, you're not.
Thank you.
And I'd say that's a credit to the staff and the quality of the kids, and also the policing that we do.
We don't have anybody. We're out there alone. And the school doors are locked. We can't lock our doors. We have to open and let kids off and on.
Any other comments, questions?
Somebody recap where we are with COVID-19, just so I know what we're
Well,
gonna
I mean, there was
Wait to
some,
hear back. Some options, right?
there was some stuff brought up coming from HR that, not saying they're gonna work, not saying we're gonna do it, but I personally would like information so we can make good decisions.
We had that information.
Well, we got options here that we haven't looked at. I mean,
Just pushing it
put
down
it
the
this
road.
way, Greg, it's not your committee,
That's true.
so I appreciate.
But I am a legislator, so
Well,
I
it's
still have
not
an
here.
opinion.
Do it at the public meeting,
Well, no problem.
not here.
I
Sure,
will.
just one more thing, if I
You
get
try
back
to
to
run
both of
this
you.
damn thing
If
all the time.
just like we did before, you can have your security guard, but then I can't use a security guard on Parks and Recs, that's all.
Correct.
So just make sure the people, the taxpayers you're speaking of know that. That once again, I'll state it again, that if you have your security guard for the school, then the sheriff's office can't use him or her for Parks and Recs.
Do you have
Is that
enough
correct?
do you have enough manpower right now to do
Do
Parks
we
and
have
Rec?
enough manpower?
To do Parks and Rec?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna say to you, absolutely not, and you all know that. We have the, Jackie here, she'll tell you the same thing. We have one of my guys, Mike Leverker, he'll tell you the same thing. If you ask any of your constituents, especially the ones that you talk about that are complaining that we don't have enough enforcement on the ATV trails, they'll tell you we don't have enough manpower. And just one last step, and then I'll be quiet. I pulled the statistics from 2011 for our road patrol that we had. We had 17 people on the road patrol. That includes your sergeants. Here we are in 2021, after 8 years of me trying to explain to everybody our manpower, and now we only have 16 people on the road patrol. So here I am coming to the 9th year as the sheriff of Lewis County, and we have not increased our road patrol.
Sheriff, we gave you that person and you chose to put them elsewhere.
That's not, What one are you talking about, Jerry?
One of the investigators. We told you, put him where you felt he needed to be.
And that's right, and if you heard, and I'll say this, Jerry, you're right. You know the amount of investigations that we don't talk about in Lewis County in regards to the sexual assault allegations that we investigate every day here through social services with the children. Now that if I were to bring those numbers up, that'd be a little embarrassing to us, okay? That's why we have the investigator we do, 2 full-time investigators, which are pretty much kept taking care of those investigations.
Yeah, but it's unfair to say that we took away a position in the budget. You chose to promote the person to a different
That
role.
was your choice.
To bring the services to Lewis County the taxpayers expect. The
Yeah, I
same as
know,
they're asking
but
right now.
I know,
for
but that's
SRR. Yeah, but see, well, so you can say we know this. Well, let's just call it what it is. That's why I enjoy when you ask me to come. I tell the public like the facts, and the same. I'm open about it. So here I am, just telling you that. That's all.
Well, the other thing is we have, you know, with regards to the rec patrol for part-time, I know we've created separate, we basically have open-ended. You hire as many part-timers for rec patrol as you want. We've told you that many times.
That's not true. We don't have
You've got to have at least 5 or 6 that we have there that are vacant. You have permission to fill.
Sheriff,
I could go look at the budget.
No, I haven't heard you.
Sheriff, I understand that your emphasis or your priority is road patrol. I'm not sure what the description of road patrol really is, whether they're just driving around looking for speeders or what the actual scope of that position is. But why is it that a person that's on road patrol can't drive some of the roads up on Tug Hill and, you know, incorporate trail enforcement into road patrol scope?
Well, Larry, that's not, I guess you don't know what your men and women in the Lewis County Sheriff's Office do, because they do that every day out there. Every day, sir. When there's a free moment, they are up in those areas.
Then why are all the towns and the public screaming that there's no trail enforcement?
Larry, also, it's not all the towns and all the public are screaming about it. That's an
Well, that's what
exaggeration.
we hear on this end.
So you hear it, sir, from 1 or 2, and then you make it sound to the public that it's several people screaming and complaining. I can tell you, sir, that it is not. And how can I tell you that? Because I travel throughout the county every day and talk to the people. Now, do we
I
have a problem?
represent 5 towns.
I represent
Every one of my towns
Very good.
is very concerned about the lack of trail enforcement.
And how many, and sir, how many of those people that you're saying the 5 towns, how many are complaining? Can you give me those numbers and their names, and I'll gladly address them for you.
All I'm talking to are the town supervisors who are gathering the information from their constituents and complaining to me or us on this board that there is a lack of trail enforcement in this county.
Well, has that been passed
And
on?
we've tried to address that for years and years, and we get nowhere.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. It has been addressed, and we can do it.
We're still getting the same feedback from the towns
Same
that
people?
and it's probably worse.
It's not. I can tell you that.
Back to the committee. We want to go ahead and move the table this till we get further information. If we
The
have-
The
Copenhagen
Copenhagen issue. Move forward with the other 2 but tables of Copenhagen. Yeah.
Yes.
Ron,
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but I have another question.
fire
I
away.
mean, the pitter patter going back and forth here. I mean, if these people are making complaints, is it just verbal, or are they writing anything down, or would they be willing to write anything down just to make people understand this is actually happening?
We could ask them to.
I mean, saying something, you know, in a meeting is one thing. A piece of paper with somebody's signature on it is something else.
Well, I think it's a mixture of both. People call into the sheriff's department and voice a complaint there. I hear it back from my town supervisors verbally. You know, I can't recall if I've gotten any specific emails, but it's mostly verbal. You know, what are we doing about trail enforcement? And we keep, this board has been resolute in trying to address the problem for years at this point, and we can't seem to get there.
Not to prolong this discussion, but can you just elaborate on why you were laughing about the part-time filling them? What's the part-time rec that you have open
Yeah, because
positions
we
or
only
you don't
have
have?
3 positions allotted. That's it. That's all we have.
You have 3 positions allotted?
And like I said, that's all that we have.
And they're filled?
They were,
So
they
they're
have one
not,
open now,
okay,
and not by any
So is the resource
choice.
officer.
okay.
Eric, can you look up how many part-time road patrol positions we allow in the budget?
Well, it's 5, no,
It's
there's
not road
Rec
patrol,
patrol?
you said parks and recs.
So park and rec is not, it's not by position, there's just an amount that can be spent on parks and rec for the Schedule 5. It's a
So
total
are we
amount.
counting the
Yeah.
school resource officer in that
Well,
number?
we can put a resolution together.
Are you
We could do a
including the
resolution to
school
create-
resource officer in that number?
No.
No, so there'd be 4, 3, then 2 more.
There were two parks and rec, and 2 resource officers.
It's
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and allow the sheriff to hire as many part-timers as he's need to help with the recreation.
He's
I'll
got
make-
5
I'll
right
make that a
now.
motion.
You can have as many part-timers as you want. The amount in the budget is what matters. So if you've got, 60,000 there,
Correct.
$60,000, and I don't have the budget in front of me, but $60,000 to spend on rec patrol, and it takes 13 guys to cover that 60,000, or 4 guys to cover that 60,000, it doesn't matter to us. And by the way, if you need more than that, we have increased that in the budget every year you've asked for rec patrol. Every year that you guys have wanted more, we've done more rec patrol. We have not increased on the other things, but rec patrol, yeah. And I think you can go back through the years and look at that.
We'll take a look, that's true, we will.
It sounds like we don't need to do that then, right? We can
No,
already hire as many as he wants, is that correct?
Well,
Just within the budget?
Let's do it, and then it's here in front of us again if we missed it. I know we have, but
Okay,
my motion's still on the floor.
all right, I'll second that.
Now,
All
you
in
just, so
favor,
the public
aye?
knows, you say
Aye.
that about hiring part-time people, they have to be police officers, you're aware of that, right?
I don't think you'll hire me, and I'm a nurse, so yeah.
What's that?
I said, well, you're not gonna hire me, I'm a nurse, so yeah, that's implied.
We are
Yeah, it's gotta be a
aware of
police officer.
Yep.
So it means they have to be somebody that's already working at another agency, and then they work in their off-duty time.
that. Right.
Or they can be retired, come back.
If they still hold their police duties. The 1 year, so we can explain to the public, so the public gets the correct information. When an officer retires, they have 1 year to come back to a part-time job. If they go past the 1 year, they now lose their police certification. They are no longer police officers anymore in the state of
So
New
what's
York.
it take to get reinstated at that point?
What's that?
What do they have to do to get reinstated?
You can't, they're done.
That's it, forever?
That's it, done. Yep. Caitlin, would you speak up to that in regards to they understand a little bit? Since you know about that, right?
Law, I cannot speak up to that because of what I have in front of me is not, I cannot speak to that
Oh, you
without
can't?
looking
Oh.
it up.
Oh, okay,
I would want to look that up to confirm or deny that.
Okay, all right.
It seemed to me that somebody retiring would be anxious to continue their credentials by working part-time, even if it's 2 hours a week.
Larry, you know what? I would agree with you with that if it wasn't the current situation we are within our country today. You can't get people to come to this job anymore thanks to the politics.
Well, you can't get people to come to work anywhere, so
Well,
you,
and whose
you're
fault
right in
is
line with
that?
the rest of us.
Right, yeah.
So according to the budget, we have 5 part-time positions currently available for Parks and Recreation. You're saying you had 3, now you've got 2, right? So you have already had authority to get 2 more. So now you've got authority to get 3 more. And Jerry's saying, well, it doesn't matter if you get 15 more, cover as many hours as you can under the budget we've got.
Right. And like I said, it's trying to find people to come and do that.
That's the
It's really
difference.
difficult. Yeah. It's really difficult.
That's what we're voting on now.
Quick question on the
Thanks for clearing that up.
Sheriff, on the SRO position, does that by seniority or how is it, do you get, what deputies apply for that?
That is through a process that we do within our office. Interview process.
Seniority?
No, not at all. No, not by seniority. Qualifications.
Okay.
Qualifications.
Okay, back to where we were. I made the motion, it was seconded by Eon. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I guess I'll say aye. I don't know what
Dick,
else to
what
say.
do you think?
Restate the motion, please, and I hate to say that, but.
Well, what it is, the sheriff said he could only hire so many, so let's give him a motion, so if he finds people, he can go ahead and do it. Hire as many as he needs to help him with the job.
Up to the budget.
Up to the budget
Budget amount.
Right, okay, that's the part I was missing.
Okay.
Thank you.
One more. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Okay. So we tried to help you out, Sheriff, if you can find
Appreciate it.
some extra ones.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions or discussions? All ready to go back to dockets then?
Are we gonna do the,
There's another,
That's
discussion.
ATV local law discussion.